Hey, um, I'm going to give it a go to make another live recording. As usual, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just being a conduit, but for what? You know? Who am I? Who are you? Who is anyone? And if we're all not really separate, what does that mean? What does that say? Um, Thought. Mankind is so lost in thought. I keep trying to sing my tune here so people can know that there's something far more than thought that's available, and that you can even live that way. It's very different, and the mind will go through conniption fits of its own um, as it gets put to the side, not put away, just not in charge anymore, that's all. And minds have a lot of problem with that. They're a bit like the evil general, you know. They're in charge and they don't want to release any power. I think there are parallels that can be drawn, interesting ones, between the Illuminati, or the powers that were, and our very own mind. I think mind is very much the tool that has been used against us to control and manipulate, and it's getting more and more invasive as we go forward. It's an interesting place to be in, 3D Earth in the 21st century too. A lot of it is much like the 20th century. We've inherited from that time the runaway mind, the some would call it a godless way of looking at things. I think science is coming back from that. Um, in If we go back far enough, the streams of science and philosophy, or religion, science and spirituality, were very much closer and worked together, and one didn't put the other one down. And I think in the 20th century, those streams separated out, and we all know how it's been. Science has not acknowledged consciousness. People that report a near-death experience are called kooks, or it's some remnant of the brain's activity. And the brain is supposed to be the identity. That's you. You're in there somehow, in the neurons and the synapses, and the workings of that is supposed to be the repository, not only of memory and all the rest of it, but somehow of you, of consciousness. And it's hogwash. But thanks to quantum physics, the streams are coming closer together again. I find them quite united in Peter Russell. I love listening to him. So far, my favorite lecture of his is The Primacy of Consciousness on YouTube. He's put the whole lecture there, and in 1 hour, it is such a treat. It's amazing the journey that you take in that 1 hour. And it's amazing the things he, as a physicist, presents. But the title kind of tells you the primacy of consciousness. In other words, substance, matter, isn't primary. Consciousness is. It's pretty cool. Okay. this is somewhat timely, so I'm going to go ahead and read this journal to you. It's from March 31st, and maybe I'll comment on it when I finish. The Mayan day on which it was written was 12 Eagle, and prepare to be amused if nothing else. No doubt many of us have heard of the rumors running around about mass arrests of the banksters, those lynchpins of the powers that were, those vampires on the rest of society, thinking they deserve their obscene wealth at the expense of everyone else. And it wouldn't be obscene if it wasn't that it was at the expense of the rest of us. Having heard, we no doubt at least wish some of these rumors were true. Even remotely true would be an improvement, right? Well, in general, I don't hold with such rumors, so I don't mention them. Just for fun, though, I'm making an exception here. And because it's a channel I favor, who is putting the word out, so I at least feel good about his integrity, and that's in 5D. I'm beginning to wonder, but for now, I'm still really for him. Rather than link you to the video, which is excessively long, it's over 2 hours, I'll link you to a summary write-up that covers the high points in case any of you want to at least know what all of the fuss is about. And then if you want to link over to the video, the link will be there. In my general scale of what I don't trust, since what I do trust is only higher self and source, I put channelers, and particularly the Galactic Federation of Light, the GFL, at the bottom as least worthy of trust, especially when combined, as in the Ashtar group. I once included Benjamin Fulford only just barely above that group, but he has risen a bit higher since I've been able to confirm some of what he says, such as his position at Forbes and the like. Then there is David Wilcock, the one who claims to be an incarnation of Edgar Casey, which he may well be. Casey was a pretty good source for other dimensional information in his day, especially his earlier work. His work regarding health and healing is pretty special and clearly medically intuitive. Plus, his remedies were far more natural, which most of us prefer in the midst of this techno and chemically polluted day and age. Casey's transcripts are not easy reading, though, tending to bore with their less than exciting delivery. Yet, their contents are helpfully summed up by those whose bliss it was to delve into that. Many of his non-medical predictions came true, too. He was speaking of an upcoming time of erupting volcanoes when none had been active for quite a long while. Thus, though he was laughed at the time, he was later proved pretty accurate. I'd say most of his fame came posthumously. The thing about Casey, or one thing about him, is that he grew less than accurate toward the end of his life. And that's where some of the predictions that people are relying on came from. It is said that he was instructed in one of his several of his own readings to back off. He was working too hard. So to conserve himself, he didn't choose to follow this advice, taking on far more clients than was recommended by his guides. No doubt wanting to help and serve, good intentions. It seems to me, though, that had something to do with lowering the purity, the accuracy of its later results. It may be that it opened the door for less than pure spirits to speak through him. One way or another, he seems to me he was less accurate later in life. Now, David Wilcock, the supposed next incarnation of Edgar Casey, is interesting. His heart, too, is in the right place, and I think that's obvious. It also appears, though, that he is too trusting of some things and some sources that just don't seem so worthy of trust. So when I listen to him, it's more for an uplift and an entertainment than for something to take too seriously. Now, why should you care what I think? I don't know. Just throwing my 2 cents worth into the arena or on the table, I guess. I'll put a link here to what the Webbot guy, Cliff High, had to say about his Cassidy interview over his death threats, which involved the whole Benjamin Fulford thing. Cliff is less than complimentary, just so you know. If you like these guys, you might not want to pay attention to Cliff. All right, since some of you likely are not aware of Ben Fulford either, I'll do what I can to thumbnail sketch him here. He's a Canadian whose background is money economics, and he served, I think, between 5 and 10 years as Forbes bureau chief for either Asia or Japan. He's quite fluent in Japanese, which is really helpful as a liaison to help us in the West get a better understanding of Japanese finance and strategy. Ben is somewhat less than cautious in how he communicates, seeming to much prefer truth and straight talk to shadowboxing with etiquette, innuendo, and suppositions. He also has a fairly clear eye on what's wrong with the functioning of the world's economies. Add to that his entree to high-level people in Japanese finance, and seemingly also the Rockefellers and that crew. And what he says can get pretty interesting. At some point, the overt strategy, speaking out with what he viewed as clear ways to improve things economically worldwide, got him into trouble with what I'll perhaps ignorantly call the Japanese mob, since it's not mafia, but you know, those at the top who run things monetarily there. He was threatened to either join that ruling group as Japan's finance minister or some such post, or to croak, to be eliminated. Now, that seems to have set something off in Asia, but here it gets iffy and impossible to confirm or chase down. But I'll tell you the story. He says that what he now calls the White Dragons, a group of assassin types who used to take their orders from the powers that were in that neck of the woods, came to his rescue. His story is that they got together behind the scenes and decided to dump the powers that were in favor of Ben's vision for change, which they felt might actually work. Yeah, I know it's a lot to take in and all highly questionable. So you can see why I didn't place any trust in him. However, when Project Camelot got involved and verified some of what he was saying, and then David Wilcock joined his cheering squad, I gave him another look. So this document is not to convince anyone to place any trust in these players. It's more along the lines of providing basic information, skeleton style, to give you a feel for what some of the rumors may have behind them and maybe why. It's like some of the videos I place in my favorites. I don't believe in or agree with all of them. Some of them are favorited simply because they contain information I feel we all deserve to know about. I hope that makes sense. I know some people give a video a thumbs down if they disagree with the content, with what is being said. I don't generally do that unless I feel there's a lack of integrity in the uploader. Sometimes people upload negative information because they just feel we all have a right to know what's going on. I don't feel right about giving their efforts a thumbs down, even though how I feel about the content can sometimes tempt me that way. So let's be connecting less with the superficial, less with the 3D info, and more with each other, and heart, as we go forward into the new time we're all crafting together. Let's be giving that up or down rating to the uploader, not so much the content of the upload, if you understand what I'm trying to say here. Let's not mess with his stats. If we disagree with the upload, the comments are the place for that. I may thumbs up a video, then give it a challenging comment below. Does that make sense to you? If you feel another way of doing things is better, do let me know. I'm open. It's between us all that we have a tremendous genius pool, not so much in any one person. I'm enjoying learning to rely on my brethren out there, on you, learning to receive, since giving is so much easier. Now, folks, this is yet another strange journal. I can hardly believe I'm discussing factual type things. So please don't trust me on any of this. I freely admit that I'm flaky these days when it comes to things of the mind. I don't care to do factual type research, far preferring the heart-based kind. I will watch someone's videos to get a feel for their message. It's got nothing to do with checking facts. Thus, I have not checked my facts here, those that can be checked. So please don't consider them as facts. They're just a sharing of my impressions of some of these things and how they arose. So please do your own research. I'll give you a few links to help you get started with that, or just to illustrate what I mean. I've got to tell you though, writing something like this is frankly bizarre if you consider whose hands the writing is coming through. Okay, so that's that journal. Apparently there are uh, a lot of people high placed in finance that are leaving their positions. I don't know about arrests, but I think I would far more trust what Cliff High has to say on this than anyone else. It's interesting. We're so tempted when we hear something that sounds like the good guys are winning and a blow is being struck at the whole prison planet situation where we live. And so we want to believe. And sometimes we get pulled in that way, you know. But it's interesting. That's all I can say about it. It's interesting. Okay, I guess I've gone on long enough. And sorry for chickening out on the live video. Maybe I'll try again later. Good day.